takes a while to rust through, right?
How many
it's so much.
baby turtles that are being hatched on the ocean? He killed the crap out of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It was not good. Not good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I like this Carathian, and it was developed by Justin Raleigh, and he's worked on Conjuring, Insidious. He did Splinter, John. I figure you would love that.
Oh, I love Splinter.
He helped develop the creatures for Westworld, Tron Legacy, Spider-Man. So he does a lot of molds. He did Insidious. So yeah, this guy has a lot of creature effects. And listen, I like it, but Aquaman rides this creature into battle, and it murders all those lobsters that are just trying to fight those crustaceans. The crustaceans are being attacked, and then almost all of them get wiped out. So imagine that. You're hanging out, and your area gets attacked. And you're like, I'm not going to succumb to you, Orm. And then your future king destroys the entire populace.
It doesn't seem very cool to me. That seems like a slightly ignorant move on my future king.
So that's why I gave the Seesaw. That's why we gave the Seesaw the win. It's just a cool, relaxed creature that gives life and is pretty cool.
That Seesaw looked like a mix between Anakin's owner and the Phantom Menace. What was his name? Like Watto?
Yeah,
or
Watto.
something?
Yeah, Watto.
So it looks like a cross between Watto and a sea elephant.
Oh, I love that. You just nailed it. All right, so Watto the sea elephant's going to be meeting Crawl in the next round, and we're going to move on to our last two matchups here. So we have Justin Benson's and Aaron Moorhead's film, The Endless, released in 2018, versus the Underwater that was released against Sweetheart, which was released in 2019. It is a kind of sea beast trapped on an island film that features a neat sea beast created by Weta. So John, tell me why you wanted Sweetheart in this competition.
Well, I had just seen it on your recommendation, as it turns out. I never would have watched it. I was happy I watched that interesting little film. But so that creature, I really like that creature when we get some good looks at it. I at first, when you just see it jump out, like I'm just like, is this a humanoid thing with a sharky head? Like I don't think I like this. And then when I started to see it up close, I'm like, oh, this thing looks cool. And I like the way they had it move when we got to see more of it. And it reminded me of the 90s cartoon show Street Sharks. If you made a horrified version of one of the characters, these bipedal limbed but shark-headed humanoids in Street Sharks,
yes,
with the big head.
I loved it. The head of this creature, and I thought J.D. Diller did a good job with he did a good job showing it. This obviously wasn't a big budget film. I like that it lived in a hole in the ocean. I don't know, for some reason I love that aspect to it. And I don't know. You know what, man? Any monster movie's cool with me. So when I watched it, I was like, this is fine. I like this sea beast.
As long as I think it's so important. Like, does your monster look cool? People might think that's the most important thing, but I actually go more with how your monster behaves and how it physically moves is more important. You can have a really basic bitch of a monster, but if it has great movement, like honestly, think about the lipstick demon. Now, don't get me wrong, it looks cool and it looks menacing. But by design, it's very basic. It's a bald dude with hair on the sides popping out and a big nose, and then it's just, let's color him up. Let's make him Darth Maul colors. Let's give him I think he had a tail that you only see like once. But it's like by design, there's nothing particularly cool about the monster. It's how the monster behaves that breathes life or dread or terror of that realized horror into it, right? Or just the animalisticness, if you will, of the creatures in Crawl. A great looking CGI alligator that moves in a way that seems stupid or floundering. All of a sudden you're taken out of the film, right? And so this was neat. And then totally to contrast that in The Endless, there's the creature that we sort of kind of see briefly as a shadow in the water, like once. But I wasn't a huge fan of The Endless. I really liked what they tried to do, though. It's a really cool concept. You loved the movie, I think, yes?
I think it's really nice. I love how the two of them broke their cycle. The two of them broke the pattern that they were in, and I really like that about it. It's just it's low budget. It's done well. It's done smartly, and there's a monster in it. There's a malevolent, evil monster, and there's a lake creature, which I love.
I call it Lake Cthulhu.
Yeah, it just starts spreading. Thing's massive.
I feel like it looked like, yeah, like it had just a lot of tendrils. It seemed like it was very large. And then just instead of like the madness of like going insane like Mandy or The Color Out of Space, maybe this was the more grounded. I'm not saying that the writers were doing anything Lovecraftian, but it just felt like I like the idea that it's a Lovecraftian creature, and so I'm just expanding on that, right? But it's like, what if that madness was reliving the same thing and knowing you were reliving the same thing and not being able to escape that? Maybe that is their madness, or maybe they're just sitting in a corner drooling after they saw something horrific, and this is their Jacob's ladder.
Oh, yeah, I mean, because he sees something down there. He sees something in the lake, and that bird's eye view is meant to tell us, yes, that's a literal shot. There's nothing figurative about that. And the directors, they wanted something in there. They just wanted it to be mysterious. So they're not saying fooled you or trying to trick you. There is something in there. And I dug that. And I found something cool about Sweetheart. The guy who worked on this, his name's Robert Giles, and then Adam Howarth, and then Elio Foxworthy. I mean, these people have worked on Hobbit, Bloodshot, Pacific Rim, Mad Max Fury Road, 2049, Men in Black, Bloodshot, model makers on some of the biggest movies that have been made. So this is a low-budget movie, but I think some people from Weta, which they're unbelievable, the Lord of the Rings, Bloodshot, all these movies, they were finally given a chance to go off on their own. And so Weta is such a massive job with Hobbit and all that. It looks like these people got to go make their own creature. Does that make sense? They were given a promotion to give their own creature feature. And I could tell they embraced that about it. And I love the creature, and I love that it gets decapitated and she leaves the head on the beach. I like Kirstie Clemens. She's a solid actress too. I dug her in that. But we had to give the Endless the vote to move forward, just because now we talk about things being plot devices or moments, but this is you know what's interesting? When I saw this lake creature, I didn't have any questions. And for me, that's when I know it's good. I didn't go, what is that? Why is that there? What's that? Who's that? Why is that? That wouldn't happen. I just went, wow. That to me...
Right. It's like you have just confirmed that there is some greater power that you were musing the whole time. Like, is there some greater power? Okay, there's something. And, yeah. And instead of saying, oh, well, what the hell is that? I want to know. Yeah, right. It's like, I agree with you, actually. That reveal was very poignant and tactful while still being like a mouth open, totally silent, like shock for me. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I love it. It made me so happy. I dig it. So that's moving on, and it's going to meet, we have 2 movies left. So we have I'm going to have you explain one of them, then we have the 2020 film Underwater, which I did a bunch of research and I have some fun on, from an Underwater 2020 film directed by William Eubank, starring Kristen. Stewart, I've always been a big fan of hers. Adventureland, I dig. I really like her a lot in Personal Shopper. She's solid. And then you have another cool T.J. Miller, all these other guys. But it's basically what I love about it. It's underwater. It's in the Mariana Trench, 8 miles underwater. There's this oil rig that gets under attack. And it's just these people trying to survive against these clingers and an eventual behemoth. So you have these gigantic sea beasts, lots of them. The characters, I guess, are secondary to me, but what I love most about the movie is the economy of it, how it's just go, 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 go. We gotta go. And I love that about it. It's very kind of Alien when everything kicks off. Aliens when everything kicks off. I really dug that about it. Now I'm going to have you introduce the next movie that it's up against, because this is your pick. This is a weird little... I watched this. This is a weird little thing.
Yeah, I assume you just watched the segment about the sea creatures, but this is Necronomicon Book of the Dead, 1993. It stars Jeffrey Combs, and that alone probably makes a lot of you listeners, if you haven't seen it, think, oh, I'm going to go buy this on Amazon. Good luck. I've been trying to buy this movie, and I'm not kidding, for 20 years. And the only way you get it is like a used VHS for $80 or a $80 European region DVD. It's a pain in the butt, but it's on YouTube, and it's a kind of misframed cut, but I still enjoyed watching it. But one of the segments of this purely Lovecraftian anthology, hence Necronomicon, that's an H.P. Lovecraft creation, is This man inherits this seaside manor. It has a cursed history, and that cursed history in his lineage is linked essentially to Lovecraftian creatures in the sea. And we actually see three forms of sea creature. We see something that you would think is one of Bill Nye's crewmen in Dead Man's Chest. It looks like this Abe Sapien turned monstrous wearing a big hat, and it has like a cloak of seaweed and shells and
oysters,
fishnets and oysters, right? Like that thing is kind of the harbinger of his ill fate. And I liken that again to one of the deep ones. We're going to just see some typical tentacle horror where some tentacles come out of some kid's mouth, and that's just whatever, kind of a throwaway stupid gag, but I like seeing tentacles and stuff, so good for that. And then there's this, it's kind of a throwaway to call it a sea beast, but it's meant to be this Cthulhu-like kraken creature because, again, it's an oceanside manor. It doesn't look like it would, I guess it looks like it would be a sea beast, but it's not coming out of water, which takes it out. This is just a lot of cool monster effects.
It looks like a large version of the one-eyed creature from Big Trouble in Little China.
Sure.
I mean, I guess that's one way. If you need a visual reference, think about that, but times 8.
If you cross that with the monster aliens at the end of Howard the Duck, their heads. How their head was like a claw with a mouth in the middle, except these claws are actually tentacles. It's a totally bonkers looking thing, but that is a big creature effect that they made. A physical creature, but really it's the Fishman actually. It's the Fishman Harbinger though that I would use as the draft pick to represent this movie. That was subtle, it had mystique, it wasn't about killing or action for that thing. That was just the harbinger of this cursed family's doom, the new generation of this cursed family's doom. And I thought it was a neat looking thing.
And what I liked about it is Tom Savini was a consultant on this movie, but I don't know, like Bart Mason worked on this, and so Bart Mason, he worked on It, RoboCop, he worked on Civil War, Terminator 2, Zombieland. This guy knows his stuff, and also Todd Masters, the Todd Masters crew worked on this. These are the people who just did the recent Child's Play. They did Slither, Legion, Belko Experiment, American Mary. They did the prosthetics for Arrival and Demon Knight. So these are people at the top of their game working on this. And this is another one of those movies where I think it just said you get to make a lot of creatures. You get to design. And I think this is a special effects person's dream to get on this film. And you can tell they dug working on these things. It was kind of weird seeing the oysters and shells hanging off that guy because someone has to put those on him, it looked like. But other than that, and the hat. But I mean, they're neat. It's cool. It's fun.
Yeah, and that whole movie, by the way, all the segments have multiple very different creatures and gooey and or gory effects. There are a lot of actors, and you'll recognize actors from all the segments. So the main actor in this one, I can't think of his name, Bruce something. He was the bald bad guy under Jeremy Irons in Dungeons and Dragons, Under Wizard. And he, in the third Warlock movie, replaced Julian Sands.
Wow.
He's a poor man's Julian Sands.
Yeah.
But he's been in other stuff too. He's like a bad guy, I think, in an Eric Roberts movie or two. The under bad guy under Eric Roberts is the bad guy typically. But the other ones all have people that you'll recognize, which I think is cool too, this movie. I don't know how this hasn't had a DVD release. I'm upset. I wish I owned this. There must be something going on with the licensing rights or whatever. It's
in the YouTube comments, people were complaining about the framing, and someone said that's why it doesn't get taken down. Because if you have a perfect 4K of it, people will just watch it. So if the framing's funky, people will watch it to get their fix. But if a DVD comes out, they're going to buy that.
Right.
So I understood that. But listen, we got to go with Underwater, and that's going to move forward. And I did some research on this, which I thought was really cool. So they shot this movie years ago, and eventually Disney bought out Fox, and it got shelved for even longer, and then the post-production phase was a long time. So William Eubank, the guy who did The Signal, had 2 years to work on this movie in post-production. He didn't have much money, but as he was working on this film, this creature was originally, it was just a behemoth. It wasn't a Cthulhu-type creature. But Andy Muschietti came and saw it, and he's the director of It in Chapter 2. And he's like, well, that'd be cool if you did this. So with their main visual effects budget, they put some tendrils on the thing's face and kind of and per the director, they couldn't change it wholesale because CGI is so expensive. Like King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, those elephants took 2 years, and that's a $175 million budget. So they did what they could do it, but this wasn't meant to be